is to come up with an orderly process of a comprehensive administrative arrangement for transfer of power from one democratically elected president to another democratically elected president. And this kind of opening of the act was done advisedly because the focus of attention is the president and the administration. So it is conceivable, and the law in fact anticipates that that transfer could be happening between an incumbent president who happens to be the incoming president. In 2004, a similar thing happened. President Kufuor won the elections for his second term.
Right.
And the basic ethos of this has three dimensions. Number one, in the interest of the citizens of this country, that at the end of a term of office of an administration, there needs to be a rigorous stock taking. And so one of the key provisions is for the preparation of handing over notes. And as you know, the affairs of state, of ministries, departments, and agencies are managed by both bureaucrats and politicians at the helm. That term, which a government is constitutionally mandated, represents a milestone, and therefore all what was done need to be accounted for, including presidential assets and other facilities that were used by the government. The second ethos of this is that in whatever form or shape that government is, the administration is transitioning, it is clear that the same ministers may not be retained, and even those who are, they will not necessarily be retained in the same ministries that they were before.
Right.
Therefore, the incoming government, even if it's formed by the same political party, will have fresh people coming in and will need to take stock of what has happened in the past. And the third reason is that this act also implicates Parliament. There was a Parliament, or there is currently a Parliament, whose term will end on the 6th of January. That Parliament would have made a lot of decisions. Those decisions need to be reviewed, and the incoming Parliament has to be informed about what gaps there were in the previous actions, what is remaining to be done that is being carried over into that. So without prejudice of whether this transfer is happening within the same party or between one party or another, this act gives us guidance of all time. And you can't make a law and say, well, this year we won't apply the law. Then 4 years later, oh, because there's a change between one party and another, we'll apply the law. This law has to be applied fairly and in perpetuity.
Now, people have also argued, especially when it comes to accountability, government handing over to itself. The law also mandates that the transition team be made up of, besides the independent Administrator General, rather. It's supposed to be made up of equal numbers from the incumbents and the incoming president's team.
Yes.
So if a government is handing over to itself, does it not undermine the fact that we want to be accountable if there is anything to be hidden? I mean, the government is handing over to itself.
Well, yes and no. First of all, the law prescribes certain statutory members of a transition team, and those are actually named in law. So the president has no choice in the matter in picking, at least, when you count, there are about 13 of them.
There are actually 14 of them.
14. The critical ministers and what have you. But there's a provision in the law that in the event that the incumbent is also the incoming, the president has a latitude to select, to designate a transition team. Our reading of it is that implies that the president can designate an additional number. In the current law, the incoming president has a provision of 9, which is less prescribed. The first section is very prescriptive. And now this president has chosen to use that prerogative to look in wider society. And this is very unique in Ghana's history, to look in wider society and select people who have credibility, but also professional competence in a broad range of areas: private sector, civil society, the labor movement, traditional authorities, people who were not necessarily selected as representatives of their institutions, but were selected with a combination of their own professional credibility. A chief, even though he has a traditional representation, also a lawyer, you know, civil society, a women's rights advocate, somebody from Ghana Integrity Initiative.
Which is exactly what the other members of the president's team are made up of, like you have explained. We have Nanao Litha, and we have Vital Azim and the rest. But have we done well? Let's forget about the presidency and come down below. The MMDAs, the transition letters, the transition period they have, they put together their books so that whoever is taking their place will be able to run, there'll be continuity in the running of government business. Have we done well? Because there are situations where people get to office and issues come up and they give you excuses as, I wasn't there, but there should be continuity, shouldn't there?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. Let me sort of elaborate what the team can do and what it cannot do. We have so far, since November, put in place the independent administration general, who has subsequently issued instructions for ministries, departments, and agencies to prepare their handing over notes. To the extent that these handing over notes are completed, and they have to be completed within 30 days, and then handed over to the next administration, we will have a record that serves two purposes. One, it can be reviewed by the incoming team as what needs to be done and what has been completed. But most importantly, it can be reviewed by citizens who need to know the stock taking. But the other issue you mentioned, which cannot be done by the transition team, is the attitude of public servants to work, the service delivery attitude. That it is you and I who can demand accountability for that. Whether a current government or an incoming government has a limited latitude to demand accountability. President Mahama has indicated from his September policy statement that he's going to be establishing a delivery unit that will hold public officers accountable for promises that are made in the strategic vision of the president. But that is yet to come. For now, it is us citizens who can actually publicly raise issues about attitude of service delivery of the public services. This kind of situation will not be accounted for in the rather technical report that they'll be collating.
Right, Dr. Garra, 30-day handing over period. Is that enough for people to put their books together over the past, whichever term they have had in office?
I think it is enough. And I think it is instructive that the law gives prescriptions, because, you know, our constitution has a peculiar character. December 7th is an election. If we're lucky, by the 10th you get the results. If there is a runoff, we do it within 21 days on the 28th, by the 28th. So if prescriptions were not made, we will have a situation where a new administration is in limbo for a long time. Why? Because they haven't received handing over notes. In fact, this law is so specific that it's even counted in hours, that within 24 hours of the declaration of results, the president must form the transition team. Within 48 hours of the declaration of results, the transition team must start to convene. So it was done with our experience of 2001, as you indicated, but also in 2009, where there were runoffs in both election years, and you saw the scramble. Right. By the time we knew who the winner was, it was about December 29th or 30th. And without time limitation, presidents incoming and outgoing still struggle to constitute transition teams. The law has been clearer on that this time.
Now, when it comes to the transition again, we gather that there is a specific instruction on preparing of handing over notes. Exactly what is this?
This instruction, as prescribed by the law, was to be has been issued by the independent administrator general, and it has three dimensions. It has a broad statement of the programs not in any considerable detail, but of the programs and objectives of ministries, departments, and agencies, the extent to which these have been achieved, and any variations, and also an outline of some of the challenges the department faces. The second dimension is a chronicling of the assets under the control of these ministries, departments, and agencies. But more than that, the presidential assets. You recall in both 2001 and 2009, there were a lot of controversies about the nature and shape of presidential assets. Which of them have been disposed of? It includes public lands as presidential assets, the status of them, what did we get when the administration started, and a thorough reflection of where those lands are and what has been done with them. So these are very, very important questions which are vexing into the Ghanaian mind.
We haven't followed those instructions to the book. How effective are these instructions? We haven't followed them to the letter.
Do you know something I don't know? Because the instructions were issued in early, I think, mid-November, towards the end of.
So, if we are to go by these instructions, how effective will we be in continuity of governance?
I think we'll be effective. I know on authority from the Administrator General that the instructions have long gone. The expectation is that these results will start coming in by now. Hence, the transition team is having its second meeting, I think by Friday, the Vice President instructed. And so already there will be something to chew on. Maybe for their first two meetings, they will establish rules of procedure upon their. It is only then that we will begin to know how effective those instructions have been obeyed in terms of the reports coming in.
With this transition team.
With this transition team.
Yes, but
in the past.
In the past, my question earlier was referring to the past.
To the past. And in fact, hence the justification of this law. In the past, there was no set of rules to guide that. We just knew that transition had to occur. And usually, as you recall, the acrimony and the competitiveness of an electioneering campaign ends up by election and the immediate aftermath to already have some crystallized, hardened positions. So people went into the transition with the same, antagonistic venom that they used in conducting the election. Fortunately for us, the way this law prescribes the group, they will be meeting. Yesterday when they were outdoored, you could see that there was considerable civility. Even if a government was going to change from one party to the other, the very nature of the prescription of the team would have already ensured that there is considerable civility. So at least we're glad now that there are rules, and those rules will now govern. So maybe next transition or next year, you and I can explore how effective these instructions were, how good the reports are, and there will be varying reports. But we hope that they will come on time and that the team will look at them.
Thank you very much,
You're most welcome.
Dr. Gariba. Thanks for your time on the Midday Brief. We've been talking to Dr. Sule Gariba, Presidential Policy Advisor. Now he says, without prejudice, it's critical that we have the transition team for a smooth continuity of governance. Now, you'd like to have a word?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Just a quick one. I also wanted to say that this transition team has a distinctive difference from previous ones. This transition team will not consider applications for employment. It is not mandated by law to assist the president in constituting the next group of ministers or cabinet. There are a number of things that it will not do. And therefore, people should not inundate the transition teams. As you can see with the 24-member team, very many of them are either part of outgoing ministers or totally independent of government. So, government is eager for the public to know that this transition team is a very technical one. It has a legal prescription and a mandate, and it will not do the things that previous transition teams did.
We look forward to the next transition so we can really look critically at this one if we did well or not.
Absolutely.
But you're watching the Midday Brief, and moving on, the Institute of Democratic Governance, together with the Civic Forum Initiative, has commended the leadership of the New Patriotic Party for their decision to seek redress through the courts. At a press briefing Wednesday, the coalition also appealed to the NPP to demonstrate unqualified commitment to the judicial process and accept its outcome to prevent conflict.
After reviewing the post-election political situation in the country, the Institute of Democratic Governance and the Civic Forum Initiative said they have noted the concerns raised by the main opposition party regarding the alleged rigging of the 7th December polls. IDEC-CFI, who had about 1,000 observers on the ground and also collated figures in their situation room, said they had no record of any form of rigging in the elections. However, the chairman of CFI Steering Committee, Major General Nikal Coleman, said such allegations must be thoroughly investigated to prevent political parties from engaging in such activities with impunity.
It's painful to be a loser, but they must exercise restraint. They've chosen the right course, as far as we are concerned, to go to the courts. And we are appealing to them to do just that. Because whether they lose or win that case, it would have helped us to deepen our democratic processes. Hopefully, that action will also stem what some perceive to be a culture of impunity and injustice.
The advocacy group said attacks on journalists and members of the public by irate NPP supporters was unacceptable and called on leadership of the two main political parties to adhere to the Public Order Act and laws regulating mass assemblies and demonstrations. They urged the security services to remain alert and discharge their duties professionally.
The security agencies are professional. They know exactly what to do. And we are asking them to do just that and not appear to be pandering to the wishes of any particular group. A policeman is a policeman. If he has to arrest somebody who they think in their view has committed an offense, irrespective of the standing of the person in public or in society, they must discharge that duty without fear or favor.
The coalition told Joy News they were in constant touch with all stakeholders in the elections and encouraged them to be mindful of provocative actions and utterances which would lead to events that would mar the country's reputation and democratic credentials.
Moving on with the news, the Media Foundation for West Africa says the New Patriotic Party should instruct its supporters to desist from any harassment of media persons conducting their democratic duties. Deputy Executive Director of MFWA, Suleiman Abrahima, was speaking in a press conference here in Accra.
Ghana has always been touted as one of the best democracies in Africa. One of the reasons is that we have a very free, pluralistic media, and the freedom of expression environment is one of the best in the world. And so Freedom House, based in New York and Washington, and other press rating organizations have always rated Ghana as being a press freedom free country, or a free country when it comes to press freedom and freedom of expression. It is in the light of this that it is quite worrying, and significantly so, that while media organizations and journalists were discharging their duties in the midst of the elections, sections of them and journalists were harassed by some aggrieved supporters of the New Patriotic Party. Specifically, we take note of the attack and harassment of some crew and reporters of Metro Television, TV3, Joy FM, and these reporters were sometimes physically or verbally abused. Inasmuch as it is their constitutional right to demonstrate peacefully, the media and journalists also have a right to report on happenings of society for the benefit of all in our society. It is on the basis of that the MFWA condemns the attacks on the journalists and calls on the leadership of the New Patriotic Party to instruct supporters of the party to desist from any harassment of media persons who are conducting their legitimate function of reporting issues in the country to the public. We call also on the security agencies to do their best to provide security for media persons and journalists who are covering issues related to the elections and even all other aspects of events happening in our society, and bring to book anyone who attacks the media.
So the Progressive People's Party has called for urgent reforms in Ghana's electoral processes and systems to avoid chaos in future elections. That, according to the party, would guarantee the long-term viability and credibility of election results. The PPP, like the New Patriotic Party, has complained of serious anomalies in the just-ended elections which compromised the integrity of the results. In a letter to the chairman of the Electoral Commission, the party said, for instance, in the Asin North constituency, the PPP was initially assigned 134 votes in both the presidential and parliamentary contests. It said upon a request for a recount by the party's parliamentary candidate, the parliamentary figure was changed to 1,487. while the presidential figure was changed to 521. So we are joined by the national chairman of the PPP, Ni Alote Brew Hammond, who has written a letter to the EC to put steps in place to check on such anomalies. Thanks for joining us on the Midday brief. But those are really serious occurrences. 134, and then after a recount, there is over 1,000 for the parliamentary figures. With all this, the PPP performed quite well in the elections. I mean, given the time frame the party came up and the performance it came up in the just ended elections. Did it surprise you?
Well, yes. First, I'd like to say a good afternoon to your viewers.
Absolutely.
And hope that they are awake and they will continue to be awake for prosperity in Ghana to prevail. We want prosperity, but we want the prosperity in peace. Yes, as worrying as these anomalies are, we believe that the Ghanaian electorate should expect a fair result. We find it troubling that the Electoral Commission did not delay the announcement until some of these anomalies had been confirmed to be true or false, and to go ahead without a consensus from the political parties, I think was a grievous error. Notwithstanding that, yes, in Asin South, where a parliamentary candidate informed us that upon receiving the 134 vote count, he objected. And after going through the tabulation, the figure was revised to a 1487.
Right.
Similar account can be told of Ajumakun Inyan Isiam. The parliamentary candidate was given a count of 163 as the vote for the entire constituency. Again, upon reflection and suggested a recount of the parliamentary ballot, it was changed to 446. That again gives us some sense that what else may have happened in the other constituencies, and that was why we have asked our field workers to tabulate the results from the polling stations to see if it agrees with what was announced from the collation centers.
And what have you gathered so far?
Well, they are in the process of completing that exercise. As soon as that exercise is complete, we will make it known to the public.
Does it make you doubt, even though the PPP performed remarkably well, as far as I'm concerned, in the elections, does it make you doubt the position you have, or even the votes that gave you the third position? You probably think we could have had more than that.
That's exactly our perception, that we could have obtained more count of votes than has been made known to the public. That the figure that we see, we believe it's woefully inadequate for the effort we put into the campaign.
Right, and so what were some of your recommendations in the letter to the EC in putting together these anomalies, correcting them, really?
Well, one of the suggestions that we put forward was the fact that we had not seen the EC audit any of the political parties since our Fourth Republic. We believe that the political parties law has mandated that parties be national in character. But we don't see the Electoral Commission trying to enforce that political parties are national in character. We also note that funding of political parties are to be done by citizens only. But with the influx of money and vote buying, as was experienced with this last election, we wonder where all of that money could be coming from. And we want the EC to look into where the funding of the political parties are coming from. It's not fair for a new party like the PPP, where it's self-funding, to compete against parties we perceive to be receiving foreign assistance.
As one of your recommendations, you mentioned that the BV machines should be designed here in the country. Why?
Well, we're looking for an electronic system, and we're saying that going forward in the future, we should go an electronic route, but we need to have assistance from the experienced countries. But they should partner with a Ghanaian firm, and that's what we suggested, that it should be a 50-50 collaboration between a foreign firm and a Ghanaian firm, so we can develop a system. We have time now to develop an electronic system for the 2016 election, and if we start now, then we can avoid some of the problems that we are having with this biometric verification system.
What kind of a system would work?
We gave the example of what is currently in place in Brazil. Brazil has tested an electronic system, and I think if we looked at that system, we should be able to adopt that system and make it work for us.
How different is Brazil's from Ghana's? Well, what we just used?
What we used was a verification system that allowed you to go and vote. But with the electronic system, your vote will be immediately entered into the database and therefore avoid all these manual additions that we currently have employed with the biometric voter system.
Also, you expressed having problems with the fact that some of the the PPP is self-funded, but some of these political parties are getting funding from foreign governments. And so you have a problem with non-disclosure of funding for political parties. But is that really such a big deal?
It should be a big deal when the political parties law mandates that the Ghanaian should be funding political parties. Citizens only are to fund political parties. We should make the political parties law work. Otherwise, why come up with a law and just let it sit on the books? We believe that the EC should ensure that political parties are conforming with the political parties law.
If there is political party A and there is I get donations from foreigner B,
it will be illegal.
How about the fact that the EC, I'm sure, I really don't know exactly why, besides the fact that the political parties laws say that if I get a donation as a political party from a foreign person and it's going to help my business without any strings attached, how bad is that?
But how do you know that strings are not attached?
And then we should have problems with the EC being funded as well.
Well, there is an exception clause in the political parties law that allows foreign contribution to the EC as long as it benefits all political parties and benefits the people of Ghana. I don't believe that that in itself is bad. As long as it is benefiting all citizens in Ghana, I think that acceptance in the clause is good.
Right. I realized that the PPP did a lot of first. Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum made his assets public, and then the conditions of his health also public. Did that help in any way?
Well, the results are showing that it may not have helped, but talking to serious-minded people, you realize that they were comfortable with the fact that we needed to know the health of our leaders. We had just gone through a process where we lost our certain president, not knowing his health condition. And Ghanaians should begin to want to know the health of their leadership so that we don't get surprised by a sudden heart attack.
Right. Final words from the PPP.
Well, the PPP stands for peace. We want prosperity, yes, but we want the prosperity in peace. And therefore, we ask Ghanaians to be peaceful, to avoid this gathering of storm. With that, I tell Ghanaians that if you want peace, put on a PPP T-shirt to identify yourself with peace. And I think that that will help Ghana.
I'm going to have you hold on. I know I gave you your final words, but something just came up. News coming in is that persons believed to be supporters of the NPP are harassing physically people at the Makola Trading Center. We will bring you an update on that beat right here on the Midday Brief. Just keep with us as we move on with the news. We will bring you some visuals as we cross over live to the Makola Trading Center, where some persons believed to be supporters of the NPP are physically harassing, physically attacking people at the Makola Trading Center. The PPP earlier considered, wanted Ghanaians to vote it into power because you felt that the NDC and the NPP are the same. Do you feel you've been vindicated?
Yes and no. We did not wish to see violence erupt out of this exercise. But the perception is very important. Perception goes with a sense of security. Now, if there is no justice, there will be no peace. And some of our citizens are feeling that justice has not prevailed with the counts that had been tabulated. We need to ensure, all of you, those in the media, you need to collect the data from the polling stations, tabulate them, and release them to the public. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. There is no sense for 1 + 1 to equal 3 on some count, and 1 + 1 to equal 1 on some other tabulation. Right. Let us all do the arithmetic of adding. And when we add all of the 26,000 plus polling station results, we will get a result that will be acceptable by all. And that will go to the core of the problem, right. That the results seem to lack integrity. And we need, all of us, as citizens of Ghana, need to be interested in ensuring the integrity of the electoral process.
Thank you very much, Ni. We've been talking to the PPP's national chairman, Ni Alote Brew Hammond. And now, like I told you earlier, the Midday Brief will cross over live to the Makola Trading Center, where we are told some persons believed to be supporters of the NPP are attacking ordinary people at the Trading Center. It's sad, and we were hoping these things were over, but unfortunately it's not. But let's move on with the news. Accounts officer at the Center of Employment for Persons with Disabilities, McLean Achu-Jejionyo, who happened to be a polling agent and monitored the just ended general elections, has commended the Electoral Commission for providing easy access for people with disabilities during the process. However, there were few hitches for which he made a passionate appeal.
McLean Achu, who spoke for the association, thought that the voting process in general was free and fair. He said the Ghana Federation for the Blind was appreciative of the fact that the EC introduced tactile balloting for blind people, but said that the process could be made much better.
What I would say is that the place was no other accessible. For instance, when persons with disability finish voting, even to thumbprint on the ink and then stamp for their interested persons, they have to, the polling officers would have to push the boxes down in order for them to thumbprint and then stamp. Electoral Commission should next time factor the height, at least if they will make some provisions for physically challenged persons with disabilities who are physically challenged in a wheelchair. they should make some special provisions for them such that they can vote and vote independently.
Abdul Razak Yusuf of the Ghana Blind Union also thought that tactile balloting was perfect, but sensitization should cut across both electoral officers and the blind.
It was a nice experience and it was very helpful because this is my first time of using it. The previous election, I used to get friends to help me, but I could not tell how sure whether I voted for the person that I desire. Right. But our challenges have to do with more education to the polling agents or the electoral offices, because some of them are not much educated in blind awareness.
Program officer of the Ghana Society for Physically Disabled believes the process was free and fair, but advised any group of disgruntled people to follow due process in seeking redress without hindering the peace of the country.
I think the legal issues must take place if they are not, they don't agree with the results. No, I don't believe they should do it violently. I think the law provides for legal action if they don't agree with the results. So the legal action must be followed.
They are grateful EC has taken the pain to enhance their participation in decision-making.
This is Joy News and you're watching the Midday Brief. Up next is some wellness, some showbiz brief, and news from across the globe with Jennifer Jane Asante, who is here with me. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Kemini.
Good to see you again.
Same
and
here.
What do you have for us today in wellness? I'm particularly concerned about that one. Yesterday was smelly. What do we have today?
Today has to do with filling your belly.
Right.
It's almost Christmas and, well, everyone's going to party, have something to eat, something to drink. So we're just letting you know what to look out for so you don't get into trouble.
Controlling the weight as well, I guess. I am not looking forward to that. All right, take it away.
All right, so it's only 12 days to Christmas and preparations are rife. But if you're not careful, this season what you eat can poison you. So here are some useful tips on how to avoid food poisoning over the Christmas period and what to look out for when shopping for Christmas.
If you're going to buy rice, for example, and it is packaged in bags, 5 kg, 10, 25 kgs, or 50 kgs, look at the seamy ends where you have the stitches. If you happen to see what they call it, stitching holes on the bag, then it should tell you that that could be an old bag and the rice in it could not be the brand that you're looking for. And so look at the end of the bag. If you see any holes on the bag, old stitching holes on the bag, it means that some other rice brand have been poured into this one and has been resealed. And that could be an old aged rice, probably is powderized, it is not of good quality, may have molds in it and all that. We're asking people to, especially if you take canned food items, look at the date markings on the cans, look at whether the cans are bulging or they bloated, whether there's any sign of leakages, whether there are signs of tampering of the date markings, and even the language in which the product is labeled. If the product is labeled in a language that you cannot read and understand, then it is improper for you, or you are advised against patronizing such food commodity.
The public is also encouraged to wash their fruits and vegetables purchased from the market thoroughly before using them. Taking these simple precautions can go a long way to ensure that your family and friends enjoy safe food at your home this Christmas.
Right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. But moving on with the news, we informed you earlier that some persons believed to be members of the NPP, supporters of the NPP, have been attacking persons at the Central Business District. I promised we were going to cross over live to the area, but unfortunately technology fails. But our reporter Adelaide Arthur, who is there with her cameras, is joining us by telephone to give us an update on exactly what's going on at the Central Business District. Hello, Adelaide.
Hello. Hello, Camille.
Tell us what is happening there.
Yeah, actually, we understand some people wielding cutlasses and clubs actually went there to attack some people who were going about their businesses. And they attacked them. According to witnesses, they started hitting them with the side of machetes and all that. So they sustained various degrees of injuries. But the police came there in time. And as I'm speaking to you now, there is heavy security presence there.
We gather that these persons are believed to be supporters of the NPP. Is that the case?
No, I don't know, but according, they are not wearing any party T-shirt. And according to one victim, who is a woman, she told me she had an NPP scarf around her neck. So the person who actually attacked her held the NPP scarf and you said you want all die be die, so we are going to give you all die be die. But then I asked the woman whether those who attacked her were NDC people, but she told me they had no T-shirts on. So actually we don't know who these people are, so because they were not tagged.
Right, the story is unidentified persons attacking people at the Central Business District. Is that at Adelaide?
Pardon?
Unidentified persons are attacking people at the Central Business District. But what exactly is warranting these attacks? Have you gathered?
Pardon?
What is warranting these attacks on these innocent people, if you have gathered any reasons at all?
According to the victims I spoke to, they said they were attacked unprovoked. They were just arranging their shoes and the goods that they came there to sell. And all of a sudden they saw these people wielding cutlasses. They just came there to attack them. So they don't know what they've done. They were just attacked. That's what they tell me.
So with the police around now, tell us about the Central Business District, the mood.
Yeah, there are so many onlookers trying to catch a glimpse of what was happening. Actually, we took shots of some blood around the place, and then the police came there in their numbers, including military personnel. So they actually came there to restore calm, but then when they got there, the perpetrators had.
And so where are these victims now?
Well, according to the CID, an officer with the CID, he told me the case will be referred to the Central Police Station, so the victims have been directed to the Central Police Station, who will then be given reports to be taken to the police hospital.
Right, so the machete wounds, how would you describe their injuries if they managed to get to the police station before going to the hospital? How would you describe their wounds?
Well, the injuries that I saw, I will describe them as minor because I didn't see any major injuries, but then they were still bleeding because they said they were hit by the side of the cutlass. They actually did not use the sharp side.
Right. Thank you very much, Adelaide. We hope to see you in one piece. We will bring you those visuals as soon as we get them from the Central Business District here in the capital. You've been watching the Midday Brief. Officials of the Electricity Company of Ghana tell us repair works on the West African gas pipeline is yet to be completed, and as such, power supply in the country will continue to be rationed until the project is completed. So if you have been expecting constant electrical power during the Christmas festivities, it's not going to happen, and there is going to be load shedding until the West African gas pipeline is fixed. That's it for the Midday Brief with me, Kamini Nyamani Amana. It's been awesome coming your way today. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching.